Rangers. We're announcing the details today of the first college baseball tournament to be held at Globe Life Field in February. A couple of announcements before we begin. Uh, I will send a release out with everything once the announcement is made. The release will also include the logo slick for the tournament, which you can use. Secondly, for anybody that you can record this live, you're welcome to record it. Schools or any media outlets, please, you can record this live. We will also be posting the entire Zoom conference on our Media FTP site for local DFW markets and outer and state markets. I will send out the information as I do for every other Zoom we do. Anybody that needs that information can just email me at jblake@texasrangers.com. So with that, and then we will have a question and answer session when we're done with the formal remarks. Again, this is a webinar, so just raise your hand and I will call on you again. I'll ask you to give your affiliation before you ask your question. With that, I'm happy to turn it over to Sean Decker, the Texas Rangers Executive Vice President of Sports and Entertainment, to make our announcement.
Thanks, John, and thank you all for joining us today. As we began design on Globe Life Field years ago and started discussing events beyond Texas Rangers baseball, we envisioned many things: dirt events, private galas, high school and college football, and many others. Before all of that, though, we started dreaming about hosting some of the best college baseball games in the world. With that, a year ago, we announced the Big 12 baseball tournament. And today, I'm thrilled that we're here to announce that we're going to be hosting the premier preseason college baseball tournament at Globe Life Field beginning this February the 19th. The State Farm College Baseball Showdown will be a 3-day tournament featuring Texas Tech University, Texas Christian University, and the University of Texas versus Mississippi State, the University of Arkansas, and the University of Mississippi. I'd like to start by thanking our owners, Ray Davis and Neil Liebman, for their continued support. I'd especially like to thank our sponsor, State Farm. We're proud to have such a trusted brand and partner join us to headline this event. It's our intention to host this tournament for years to come, and State Farm's dedication to our team in this event is invaluable. I'd also like to thank the school's athletic directors and head coaches for their commitment to make this happen. They've been great partners. Each one of them committed years ago and has stayed with us every step of the way, even through the twists and turns of the last year. Lastly, I'd like to thank our broadcast partner, Flow Sport, for their support. We've worked with them on many events over the last year, and they've been critical to our event's growth. When they got wind of this event years ago, they reached out quickly and have been bullish on the concept and the college baseball space. For the tournament, we'll have a capacity of 14 to 15,000 fans. We'll be observing similar protocols to what we'd used for the World Series, the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and it's also similar to what we used for high school and college baseball games over at Globe Life Park this past year. A few highlights will include all tickets will be sold online and will be general admission. We'll observe a no-bag policy. We'll have increased hand sanitizer and hand washing stations throughout the venue. We'll also require masks be worn, and we'll ask fans to social distance whenever possible. All of these measures will continue to contribute to our successful ability to host events here at Globe Life Field. All tickets are available starting at 1 p.m. today at texasrangers.com/college baseball showdown. Again, that's texasrangers.com/college baseball showdown. We'll be selling tickets as daily passes, and we'll also offer discounted rates for weekend and for the full tournament. With that, I'd like to turn it over to each of the coaches for a few words. Starting with Jim Schlossnagle, the head baseball coach at TCU. Jim was my first call years ago, and Jim was our first call years ago, and has been instrumental in getting this tournament off the ground. Jim?
Thanks, Sean. On behalf of TCU, we're certainly excited to be a part of the first year of this tournament. Sean and I have had a lot of conversations for well over a year and a half about what this thing could be, and it's certainly going to be even better than anyone anticipated. And having been in the facility and seen what a first-class ballpark it is, there's going to be no better way to bring college baseball back to the forefront of our nation than this tournament, and we look forward to being a part of it. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Jim. Next up is head coach David Pierce from the University of Texas.
Sean, thanks a lot. Really appreciate the invitation and very honored to be playing in this tournament against some great opponents. And I think this event is going to be something that's going to be very special, not only this year, but years to come. And it's just a privilege for us to be a part of it. We thank you guys at Globe Life and looking forward to the competition. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Next up is head coach Tim Tadlock from Texas Tech.
Hey, Sean, appreciate you having us on. Appreciate the Rangers inviting us to come play in the tournament. Of course, Texas Tech and the Big 12 is excited about playing against the three teams from the SEC. Should be really good baseball, should be good watching. It's been a lot of fun watching you guys run the World Series and the NFR, and to see our teams in there competing in that beautiful facility is exciting for our guys, even though we're all just kind of getting started with practice and all that. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. Next up, and first from the SEC, I'd like to introduce Dave Van Horn, head baseball coach from Arkansas.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having us. Just really excited about getting, start the season in such a special venue. I know that our players are extremely excited about it. Competition second to none. Texas Tech, Texas, and TCU. Obviously against the SEC. I think it's going to be something that's going to be heavily scouted, heavily watched. I think just to start the season off with this type of tournament, after losing last year's season, I think it's going to be amazing for our sport. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody down there. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Next up from Ole Miss, head coach Mike Bianco.
Thanks as well, Sean, and appreciate the opportunity. We're grateful. I think like everybody that's already spoken, to have the season end last year for all of us. Nobody would have ever thought something like that could happen, and it did. And I think here we are, almost a year later, just excited to be on the practice field, and of course, with the season, literally about 4 weeks away. I know our guys are excited to just play anybody, but then to get this great opportunity to play in such a terrific venue that I've heard so much about, and of course have seen on television and the World Series, and what a great job you guys have done. But then to put on top of that, the great competition and two great conferences, and as you look through most of the polls where just about everybody's ranked in the top 10. Obviously a huge challenge, I think, for us, and just excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. We're thrilled to have six of the top programs in the country for here. And last but certainly not least, Chris Lemonis from Mississippi State.
Hey, thanks, Sean. I guess I'm hitting cleanup today. The last guy, my sentiments are like most. We're excited. I mean, it's been a long year since we were last on the field, and getting the opportunity to jump out and play against this level of competition this early in the season in a beautiful ballpark. The excitement's probably the main word for us. I mean, we're ready to play ball, and we look forward to seeing a bunch of fans. I'm sure all the teams will have them there, but our fan base is fired up and ready to get to Arlington and have the chance to watch us play and everybody play. It's just a fun time of year, and we're honored to be a part of this tournament.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and thanks to all of our head coaches for joining us today. We're excited to start this season and hopefully every season here from here on out at Globe Life Field. Want to thank State Farm and Flow Sports again, and with that, I'll turn it back to John Blake.
Okay, so we're going to start the question and answer session here momentarily. One thing, I have sent the release out to everybody I've got on my DFW list. Again, if you do want a copy of the release and you don't have it, the 6 schools, through the help of their athletic communications departments. We'll be getting it to you guys shortly. But I'm also happy to send it along. And again, if you need the media FTP information, I'm happy to send that along as well. So just raise your hand. I would ask that you identify your affiliation and who the question is directed to, either Sean or one of our 6 coaches that they're not nice enough to be with us this morning. And with that, we'll go to our first question from Evan Grant of the Dallas Morning News.
Hey guys, nice to see all of you. Sean, very quickly, I just wanted to double check on a couple things. And on the plan to include fans, 14 to 15,000, that's per session, right? So each day will you be clearing? You're not going to clear the house between games or anything, are you?
No, that's correct. Evan, yeah, 14 to 15,000 is the most people will have in the building at any one time. We'll have a similar seating configuration to what you saw during the MLB postseason. And we will be cleaning constantly throughout the event, but we will not do a full emptying of the building.
So in other words, if you buy a pass for the 19th, you're going to be entitled to see all 3 games, correct?
Absolutely. That's correct.
Schloss, since you're basically the home team here, I'll throw this one up to you. Just the idea, I just really quickly ran through Baseball America's top 200 college prospects or top 200 draft prospects, and it looks like if everybody's healthy, about 5% of the nation's top 200 prospects are going to be here the middle of February. If you could just speak to the level of talent, especially for fans of clubs like the Rangers who are drafting high this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. You're talking about 6 programs that aren't just top 10 to 15 programs this year. They're top 10 to 15 programs every year. And I had a scouting director call me a couple of weeks ago and said, Slosh, do you realize that we have over 60 what we would term high-end follows in that tournament, and this is a guy that's been around for a long time, and he had never seen anything like that. So what's going to be exciting is, obviously the fan bases are going to come out in droves, but I'm so excited for the novice or the general baseball fan in the Metroplex that hasn't been able to get in to see the new stadium. Couldn't go to the World Series, couldn't go to any of the playoffs, any of that. So just for the opportunity for the players to get exposed, not just to the Major League Scouting community, but for all of the fans, you're basically going to be seeing guys that are going to be playing in the big leagues in, several, probably less than 18 to 24 months. So it's going to be super exciting.
Great, thank you. I'll let somebody else.
Okay, we'll go to Bob Holt of the Arkansas Democrat. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, thanks, John. Hey, this is for Dave Van Horn and David Pierce. Dave, you go back to the Southwest Conference roots. Obviously, how excited are you to open with Texas and play 3 old SWC teams? And then, David, what are your thoughts on playing Arkansas, opening up with Arkansas?
Well, good to hear your voice, Bob. Anyway, so the first schedule that we got a couple months ago, it's been changed a little bit. We actually open now on Friday night against Texas Tech. We play TCU. We play Texas Saturday night and TCU on Sunday night. So, just playing such a quality team really doesn't matter who you play. They're all great. So we're just excited to get out on the field and play. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'll comment. Excited? I don't know about excited. I mean, Dave's running a juggernaut over there. But it's been awesome competing against them the last few years. They'll test you, and you'll find out about your team and where your weaknesses are, and totally get exposed. But I'll agree with Dave. The schedule has been bumped a little bit, but all 3 teams that we're going to face are just outstanding programs. Got a ton of respect for all 3 coaches. And it's a tribute when you look at the number of potential draft players to these programs and how they've been established. So I just think it's going to be exciting for our players to get on the field and just go out and have some fun and compete against some great teams.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Drew Davidson of the Fort Worth Star Telegram. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, just got a couple questions. First, Sean, do you guys have a price point of what tickets will be?
Yes. Yeah, we have, it'll be $25 a day. Or if you buy so that gets you to all 3 games of the day, or for the weekend pass is $50.
Okay, thank you. And this is for the SEC coaches. I believe all of you guys have multiple kids from Texas. Just can you talk about Texas baseball and how important it is to recruit here? And do you think this will kind of give you guys a little bit even more of a footprint here in the state?
Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll take the bullet. Yeah, I think you always hope. I think the recruiting's the lifeblood of any program, and I think all of us would say that we recruit nationally, and the chance for our not only our sport but our program to be on this big of a stage, I think is great for all of us, and to be in front of people that may not see you, especially live. I think it's a great opportunity.
Anybody else?
Yeah, it's exciting for us. We have a handful of guys. We had a first rounders last year. We had Jordan Westberg from News Brombles, and we had Justin Foscue, who went to the Rangers. So even though he wasn't from Texas, it's a big piece for us. And we have numerous kids in our program right now, and working on it. And our whole staff, or most of our staff, I grew up in Houston. Jay Gotro grew up in McAllen, and Kyle Cheesebro grew up in that Dallas area. So us getting back to Texas, we're excited for it. And we try to get in there and get some players. There's so many good schools, it's hard to get them out sometimes. But we work in that area a pretty good bit.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in a little bit. I've got at least 3 starters in the field from the state of Texas. 5 of our better pitchers on our roster that'll make the trip, and another position player or 2 that are battling to get in there from the state of Texas. So we have a small population in our state. We have to go out and about. Texas is obviously probably our number 1 state besides the in-state kid, to be honest with you.
Okay, we'll go to Matt Jones. Matt, please state your affiliation.
Yeah, Matt Jones, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. This is for Coach Van Horn. Dave, you've been a part of a lot of these type, weekend events, high-profile ones through the years, but typically you do it after you've got a weekend or 2 weekends under your belt. What will it be like starting the season with this type of competition?
Yeah, this is a lot different feeling for us. It's my 19th year here. I think we've started on the road maybe 1 time. Usually you try to, maybe play 3 games at home, you get a midweek game before you head out to an event like this, especially when you're, a little more north than some of the schools. But when I got the call from Jim about this, to me, it was a no-brainer, just really for the student athletes. I know that I would be disappointed if my head coach turned this down because it was opening weekend, if I found out about it. So I don't know if we're going to quite be ready or where we want to be, but the experience will definitely tell us what we need to work on. And we'll answer a lot of questions, you hope. But it's a little different going on the road and then playing this type of competition on the road where, it's such a conference feel, a big conference game, weekend feel. So, but it does keep these kids motivated now. They get to see a lot of friends and parents, a lot of these kids are from the South, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of athletes that are in high school right now that would love to play for one of these 6 universities down the road that'll be there watching and figuring out what color they like best. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun.
And then whether it be in the postseason or something you schedule in the regular season, you've seen TCU, Texas, and Tech quite a bit the last few years. Can you kind of speak to the familiarity that you have with those programs?
Well, Yeah, I mean, we played Texas Tech a couple times in Omaha, 2 different years, and one game up here a few years back, and obviously TCU came to our regional, and probably the best left-handed pitcher we saw all year that year. And Texas, we played them a couple games here, a couple times in Omaha, a couple times in Austin over the last 3 years, and just we know them pretty well. They know us, and the games are always really well played for the most part. The competition's incredible. So, like I said, it's a real SEC weekend feel for us, and it should be very entertaining.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well, we will go to Ben Portnoy. Ben, please state your affiliation.
Ben Portnoy from the Commercial Dispatch down in Starkville. To Chris and Tim, obviously you guys closed the season, I guess, last year before everything canceled down in Biloxi to get a chance to go back at each other and to see each other again opening weekend. I guess you just mentioned talk a little bit about kind of what that means and to be able to see the competition you guys are going to be able to early this year.
Yeah, I'd like to think, it should have been so crazy. We're just excited to play. I mean, I don't know if you're ever excited to play Texas Tech, but we're excited to get back on the field and hopefully be 2 great games. We played 2 great games in Biloxi to end the season. And now that hopefully we're back out and playing, the excitement will be there playing anybody in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about whoever we're playing at this point. It's been a long 7 or 8 months, and guys are excited about getting back on the practice field and getting back to work. And obviously, playing Chris down in Biloxi was that was a fun deal. I don't think we got to play day 2, and we're excited about playing down in Arlington. We got a lot of fans down there, and I think everybody's fan base will show up as much as they'll let them. And should be a great weekend of competition. Looking forward to it.
Okay, we'll go to Chris Tavares. Chris, please state your affiliation.
Chris Tavares with KXA News here in Austin. David Pierce, is for you. It'll almost have been a full year for all of college baseball to have played, and what are some of the difficulties with getting back in it with such stiff competition like you're opening up the season with in Globe Life Field?
Yeah, I think just outside of the normal protocols that we're going to all have to deal with, just getting our players back on the field, and I think the word excitement has been used quite a bit, and we're no different. It's going to be interesting to see how our kids handle their nerves, and do they have the ability to slow the game down, because it's been since March 11th since we played an outside competition. So I think that's going to be interesting and a challenge for all of us. Is just the energy, the excitement's going to take over. Now, can we control our emotions and play the way we have practiced and worked? And I think that's going to be something that definitely University of Texas is going to have to deal with. And but it's a good feeling, and it's a great feeling knowing that we're going to a venue to play great competition. We know we're going to play because weather conditions won't be a factor. The prep moving forward will be kind of a good feeling of normalcy again, where you start preparing your practices, your day to day, and then looking forward to competition. And the competition second to none. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Go to Danny Davis. Danny, please state your affiliation.
Danny Davis with the Austin American Statesman. This question's for David. David, was this a no-brainer deal for you, or did you think about maybe playing someone a little easier to open the season?
I agree with Dave 100%. When we got this opportunity, it was something we jumped on, and also something that we would like to continue to do throughout the years. So we're really honored that we were a part of this inaugural year. And it's just going to be tremendous, a tremendous atmosphere for all of our players, coaches, fan base. It's what we need right now, and it's going to be exciting.
Go to Don Williams of Lubbock Avalanche Journal. Go ahead, Don.
A couple of questions for Tim Tadlock. Tim, which opponents do you play on which day? What is your schedule like for the weekend?
Hey, Don, long time no see.
Yep.
Want to say we go Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
And considering obviously that you have not played since mid-March, I know that you like to play as good a competition as you possibly can. What is the, I guess, challenge to you and your staff to be able to play at a high level after to be able to play at a high level right off the bat after such a long layoff?
Oh, I think you'd be kidding yourself if you think you're going to play as good as you're going to play opening weekend. These guys have had a long time off. The challenge is really we've all got about 3 weekends to get our guys ready to play. If my math's right, I think the NCAA allows us to start team practice on the 29th. And so you got a couple weekends there where we can prepare our guys and just do the best you can. And I'm sure all of us will, let a bunch of guys play that weekend, let some guys get their feet wet. And, rhythm and timing's not that easy. There's a reason spring training's 6 weeks and it's not 4. And so, again, we'll just do the best we can when we get there.
And one other quick one, I guess. What's your initial thought on your pitching for that weekend in terms of the buildup that you would need to get guys to pitch multiple innings? Or how long do you think your starters can go, and how many guys would you like to get into games that weekend in those 3 games?
Well, that's a good one. I mean, obviously, it's kind of humorous because we hadn't even thrown to a live hitter yet. So, and we haven't seen them in 2 months. So, day 2 of individuals today for us, we're really hoping they all walk through the gate and can stretch and pick their arm back up, and, be ready to go today. And, you're shooting for probably 60 to 75 pitches opening weekend, no more than that.
Okay, we will go to Eric Kelly. Eric, please give your affiliation.
Yeah, Eric Kelly, KMAC in Lubbock. This one's for Tim. Tim, obviously you like to play this type of competition early in the season. What's the value in playing it in this type of tournament style against teams that you could possibly see in the postseason?
I think there's value anytime you can line up, play somebody. And all these guys got really good pitching staff. They got really good lineups. They do a really good job with their teams. And they're going to make you earn everything you get. And so there's the value in it. And obviously, at the end of each day, you're going to be able to reflect back and look at what you need to do to get better for the next day. And understand that baseball is a very humbling game. It's very hard. And again, early in the year, you're going to see some guys have success. You're going to see some guys that don't. It's the first time out, and nobody really knows what you're getting day one. And so I think all of us will try to prepare our teams and do the best we can. We'll show up, let them play.
Next question comes from Ben Garrett. Ben, please give your affiliation.
Yeah, Ben Garrett, the Ole Miss Spirit, 247 Sports. This is for Coach Bianco. Mike, first of all, who will be your opponents for that weekend? Obviously, you're familiar with all these coaches, with all these teams, and what's the challenge of opening weekend for y'all?
Hey Ben, we got TCU opening night or opening afternoon. I think we play in the middle game all 3 days, and Texas Tech day 2 on Saturday and Texas on Sunday. And then what was the other?
You're familiar with all these coaches and all these teams, just the challenge of the weekend and the opponents you're facing.
I think, echoing what everybody said, it's a huge opportunity and certainly a huge challenge, I think, opening weekend. But as Dave mentioned earlier, I mean, how could you say no to something like this? I mean, what a great opportunity for our guys, and three great programs, and as Schloss said earlier, I mean, not just for this year, but traditionally, teams that are in Omaha. We haven't played. I'm trying to think back. Probably the last one of these three that we played, I think, might have been Texas Tech and Houston a few years back. But all great programs, and again, being the first weekend, I think it's super exciting.
In your team, you lost two guys, but obviously you returned the bulk of a team that was 16-1, and the pitching staff that's got a lot of arms that could really handle tournament play pretty well. Do you like the uniqueness of this challenge is obviously pretty unique, but for your team and the way you're built and your off and your pitching, do you think you're pretty well equipped for it?
Yeah, but I don't think we're any different than anybody else. I mean, but I understand what you're saying. But because of the draft, and getting another year back, from the NCAA, I think we're probably like a lot of people where we return a ton of guys, and we probably have more pitchers on the roster than normal. But we saw this coming a couple years out where we figured Doug and Gunner and those guys, this class, would hopefully be able to handle this, weekend a little better than maybe a younger team. And so thankfully it falls for the right year for us.
Okay, well, we got time for a few more. So if you have your hand up, we will be happy to take you. And but I think that'll be it. Just guys with people with their hands up. We'll go to Trey Schapp. Trey, please give your affiliation.
Yeah, Trey Schapp with the Buzz Radio Network. This for all the coaches today. Obviously the goal is to get to Omaha. You're starting in Arlington, but to get to Omaha today, the NCAA announced that starting in 2022, that the College World Series will start on a Friday, and the championship series will start that next Saturday. I wanted to get comments from all of you about losing one day there potentially in Omaha, and then the fact that both weekends will be covered with baseball.
Who wants to start there? Coach Van Horn, you're muted. You unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, so basically what it does, and all the coaches know this, that if you won a couple of games, instead of getting 2 days off, you're probably going to get one, or maybe even 3 days off, you get two. It can be a long couple of weeks up there. Great experience, but I think it's probably a good thing. It's going to really challenge your pitching staffs a little more, especially as far as the starters. I've been up there one year when, like one of the teams, I'll mention it. I think they used two starters the whole time. They won the national championship, and it was amazing. They not hard throwers. They could flat out pitch. A couple of older kids, but I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'll go next. I don't. I think if it was up to anybody on this call, we would be in. There's no bad days in Omaha, so if it lasted 3 weeks, it's awesome. But for the sport itself, for the fans, for television, it's certainly the right thing to do. You're not going to. Hopefully, you're not going to have people having to come back and forth nearly as much, and it is tough on the fans when they want to see every game and they still have to work. So it's certainly the best thing for the sport, and certainly hope that all six of these teams can find our way back there.
Anybody else? Okay, then we'll go to our next question. Back to Evan Grant, who has another question.
Hey, Sean, very quickly on a couple things. You got 6 teams coming in. Will each team have its own clubhouse, or are teams going to have to share clubhouses here?
Evan, we're still actually working through that. I think, typically speaking, in a non-COVID situation, in a typical year, we have 4 clubhouses, and we'll utilize all 4 of them and alternate. The alternating can cause a lot of challenges, however, for cleaning and some of those things. So we're working through it now, but it may be a situation where the guys come ready to go some days, use locker rooms on the way out for showers, but to separate through it. So to say we're completely buttoned up there wouldn't be accurate, but that's we're working through it. But I think it'll likely be some combination where we'll actually use some of our clubs as holding areas. We'll use the batting cages, things like that. But we'll kind of spread things out a little bit more than we would have otherwise.
And then the other thing for you on this, you talked about the tournaments. I heard Coach Pierce say this is something he very happy that he's involved with this year and that would look to be involved in future years. Have you locked up any of these Texas teams long term to come back here?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is we're in conversations, yes, with all of them, and we've got about a 5-year look ahead. So we've got a little bit of movement, so we're not ready to announce all the fields for the next 5 years. But yeah, not just with the Big 12 schools, but with everybody on the line here, we'd like all of them to make this an annual stop as part of their calendar for future years, for sure.
And then if any coach wants to handle this, I look at this in 2 different ways in the middle of this pandemic. One, you guys all take one trip and get 3 premier opponents. So that lowers kind of your exposure, but it is also basically a road trip for everybody. What were your health concerns for your players and protocols going in?
Would like to tackle that one.
I'll take it. We, when obviously when we made a decision to come, it was pre-COVID. But since I've had the conversation not only with our administration but many people. We always take one trip on the road. This year, I think we're fortunate that this is the trip. I think we're fortunate to be paired up with the Big 12, who similar conference, similar I think COVID protocols, and so that those things don't seem to be as big of a maybe obstacle as if we were going somewhere else. And being able to get to the Dallas Fort Worth area, Arlington, much easier than getting to another location. So I think because of the year, this is probably the perfect trip for us.
And just to follow that up, Coach Bianca, do you know, are all the schools planning to basically be in a bubble accommodation, or are y'all planning to stay at the same place?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Okay, we got time again for a few more for guys that have their hands up. Tyler Horka. Tyler, please give your affiliation.
Yeah, this is Tyler Horka with the Jackson Clarion Ledger. I have a question for the coaches from the Mississippi schools, Chris and Mike. Obviously, the schedule came out the other day and saw that there's no Governor's Cup this year, and that's a really big one for both of y'all every year. So the first question is, it's a 2-parter. Just what are your thoughts on not being able to play that game in Pearl like you guys usually do? But then on the flip side, how exciting is it for you guys to still be able to take a trip like the one we're talking about here in February and to play the caliber opponents that you guys are scheduled to play?
Who wants to go first?
Mike, I was going to let you go first. You've coached a lot longer than I have in terms of the league, but I'll go. And we're excited. We get to, like I said earlier, we'll play Mike and his team here in Starkville. And we made an agreement. We're going right back to Jackson to play that Governor's Cup next year. So we're in a position just this year, the way the schedule worked, and there's a lot of things, just the COVID piece that made it very tough, for us to be able to make everything work this year and the scheduling, the SEC scheduling. But I know it'll be disappointing for a lot of people, but we look forward to being able to do it in the future.
Yeah, I think obviously it's a disappointment for everybody, especially the fans, the fans of the Jackson area, and even the fans in the southern part of the state. That every year we play that, there's 8,000-9,000 people in the stadium. So, but to play it where it's normally played, in the schedule so deep into the season in May, a midweek game, a chance, not so much the playing of the game, but the travel that it takes to get down there. I think both administrations just thought it was too big of a risk to be traveling on a bus 5+ hours in the middle of the week that deep into the conference play and towards the end of the season.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we'll go to Joe Cook. Joe, please state your affiliation.
Yes, Joe Cook from WAPT in Jackson, Mississippi. I want to start with the Mississippi coaches with Coach Lamanis and Bianco, but the rest of the coaches, you can chime in as well. I've heard the word excitement and energy, of course, but talk to me about evaluation going into a showcase like this and given how your rosters are set up. What do you want to get from an evaluation standpoint, after these games are completed, given that you have a lot to work with and going against quality opponents as well?
I think the biggest, in most years, the biggest jump is from week 1 to week 2, letting your kids, no matter who you're playing. This year is just a little different because it's coming off of COVID. It's coming, you're playing, some of the best programs in the country. But then the biggest key is for us to get out there and be able to relax and play the game pretty free, and then be able to watch what some of these young guys are doing. We have so many new kids in our program, how they play the game, how they handle failure, how they handle the excitement from week 1 to week 2. I think will be a big jump for us, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of game notes and a lot of coaching after this weekend.
I just feel that that the competition level the first weekend, as I think one of the coaches mentioned already, can expose you, very quickly. I think this weekend. I think that's maybe the difficult thing as a coach. I think the first 4 weeks for us is always the non-conference weeks, trying to figure it out, figure which guys are ready to play, tinkering with lineups and rotations and which guys out of the bullpen. And that's, I think, what makes this such, not only are you playing really good competition, but you're playing at the first weekend, which I think where it's a bigger challenge, especially for the younger guys.
Okay, we'll go to John Sokoloff. John, please give your affiliation.
Hi, John Sokoloff, a sports director down in Columbus here in Mississippi. I've got one for the Mississippi coaches. I guess, Chris, can we start with you? We've already mentioned a bunch, the quality of opponent in this first weekend, but is this kind of the best collection of teams you think you've ever started out your season against in your careers as coaching? I guess, Chris, we could start with you.
That's a no doubter. I mean, I think it's everybody's ranked in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, and some poll the others. So, and this is a time when most rosters are better than they've ever been. So I think Jim mentioned it earlier, all the players that are going to be here and be scouted. I think you're seeing some of the best players in college baseball all in one weekend. And I think that's the exciting part of it, because we have so many great players. I would imagine professional baseball, every organization, and will be watching us that weekend.
Yeah, I can echo that. I think, of course, we've talked endlessly about the competition, but again, the first weekend, I don't know if we've ever opened up. We've opened up with some really good opponents last year. We opened up with number 1 Louisville here, but a collection of 3 teams, ranked in the top 10. Certainly a huge challenge for everyone.
Okay, we'll go to Robbie Falk, and then we've got 2 follow-ups. So, Robbie, please give your affiliation.
Yeah, Robbie Falk from Starkville Daily News and also from Gene's Page 247 Sports. This is for Chris. You got 3 really talented potential weekend guys, and Christian McLeod and Eric Sarantola and Will Bednar, and we all know the potential that those guys have, but haven't seen a lot of them against SEC competition or even some of these teams you're going to play. How excited are you to throw those guys out there against the competition they're going to face in this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, we have some veteran guys there that have, pitched a lot of college baseball to this point. They haven't done a lot of SEC baseball because of the season being canceled, but we're we're optimistic. We're excited about them, but they have a lot to prove. I think as they go through the season and going through this first weekend, you know, as they become the primetime guys, how do they handle the pressure? How do they handle the game? It'll be a lot of fun to see.
Okay, we got a couple follow-ups, and I want to thank the coaches for their time this morning. First, we'll go to Matt Jones. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, this is for Coach Schlossnagel. Did I understand correctly that you had a hand in helping get this event off the ground?
I don't want to take any credit for it. It was just Sean. This was Sean's idea, and he gave me a call one day and asked my opinion. And we had all, I think, a lot of the teams on this call had been a part of something somewhat similar in Houston that went off really well several years ago, a Big 12 SEC challenge, and we talked about it. And then it was just a matter of, he asked my help to call the coaches and let them know what was going on. And they were real short and easy phone calls. All of these guys these are some of the greatest coaches ever in college baseball. And they're certainly know what it's like to play and compete at this absolute highest level and give their kids a chance to be a part of this. So it only took about a day. And from that point on, Sean and I have talked many times just about making sure that it's a first class event. And I can assure all the coaches and fans that I don't want to speak for Sean, but from game production to the umpires, to everything that's gone on, it's going to be major league quality. And I was able to go to the World Series one game, and I was able to go to the National Finals Rodeo over there for one night. And I mean, you just can't even begin to describe what an awesome experience this is going to be for everybody involved.
You mentioned Houston for you and for Sean. How much influence are Houston, Frisco, Round Rock, the type of events they're having right now on this? And for Sean, for you, maybe finding your footing, in a state where you've got a lot of pretty high quality early season events like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I think Jim's burying the lead a little bit. He was a little more influential than he'll let on. He was a tremendous asset, and obviously a lot better having a coach call another head coach through that process. So just a huge thanks to Jim, and I can assure you, if we're anything below first class, I'll hear from him, and I'm counting on it. So we know what the standard is, and we'd like to think that we're going to set a new standard, if you will. It is absolutely imperative for us and for our team that this is a first class experience for for not just the student athletes and the teams and the coaches, but for all of our fans and everybody coming in. So even amidst the things we're dealing with COVID, we still think that we can create a world class atmosphere and a world class experience. And to talk to your point on getting a foothold, I think the new facility gives us an opportunity. College baseball has always been a priority for us. It was much tougher to do, and in our old facility with a natural surface. I think this new surface that we have that has shown really good results so far gives us the ability to do this between not just college, but some of the high school games we plan to have here over the course of the year. We think we have the opportunity to host and continue to bring folks back, and so we're really excited about that.
Okay, and our last follow-up is from Don Williams. Go ahead, Don.
Hey, Sean, kind of along similar lines, I was curious how y'all selected these particular schools, and in the future, looking out, as you mentioned a while ago, like 5 years down the road, will y'all look at a bigger pool of schools like additional SEC schools, additional Big 12 schools, or how would you arrive at the 3 from the Big 12 and the 3 from the SEC each year?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a ton of tremendous schools in both conferences. We started there obviously because of our geographic location and because of our partnerships. It wasn't hard to start narrowing down the teams that were the top in the country. It's our intent to bring the best programs in every year. So as we went through kind of that look, I think I'd have to go back, but I think we started talking to these guys back in 2017, maybe earlier. And so they were at the top of their game then and continue to be. Did we know we would get 6 of the top 10 teams in the country? I would love to tell you we knew that. We weren't quite there, but but super excited to have them there. And that'll kind of be our continued process. We'll continue to look at the schools that are near the top. We've talked to all these guys about coming back and have penciled folks in for certain dates moving forward. And I think that we'll even expand as much as the Big 12 and the SEC are great partners of ours and make a lot of sense for us for a lot of reasons. I think we'll like to expand to bring folks in from other top programs around the country, and we'll continue to try to do that as well. It's our goal that while this is the first weekend every year, likely, we want it to be one of the biggest weekends every year, and kind of be a highlight to the start of the college baseball season every year.
And with that, I think we're done. And I want to thank all the coaches for their time. The credential process, just for media on the call, we will be sending that out. We're basically going to use the MLB credential system. So you're going to